is not a year that most Americans know as a notable date in our country's history. I certainly didn't. Those who do are at most a tiny fraction of those who can tell you that 1776 is the year of our nation's birth. What if, however, we were to tell you that the moment that the country's defining contradictions first came into the world was in late August 1690? That was when a ship arrived at Point Comfort in the British colony of Virginia, bearing a cargo of 20 to 30 enslaved Africans. Their arrival inaugurated a barbaric system of chattel slavery that would last for the next 250 years. This is sometimes referred to as the country's original sin, but it is more than that. It's the country's very origin. And in fact, some of the supporters of this effort have said slavery is in our DNA, which means you can't get rid of it. It's in our DNA. And you heard this, and you read about this, and you were repulsed by this.
It is one of the most diabolical, self-destructive ideas that I've ever heard. And what they're doing is rewriting American history, and unfortunately they are using the suffering and struggle of Black America as a bludgeon to beat America and define America as a criminal organization. And it's lethal. And the message that they're saying is all white Americans are oppressors and all Black Americans are victims. What this does, Mark, it means that for the Black community, it's exempting them from any kind of personal responsibility. It's really white supremacy to assume that Blacks have no agency. And the basic premise is we brought together a group of independent thinkers and activists called 1776. That's the real birth of America. And what we're organized to do, we're demonstrating that this is a lie, but we're not going to engage in vitriolic debate. What we want to offer through our essays, through our scholars that we brought together, we are providing an aspirational and inspirational alternative narrative that presents facts. For instance, 1619 says that the current problems facing Black America, with 75% of babies are out of wedlock, we lost more Blacks, killed more Blacks in 1 year than was lynched by the Klan in 50 years. And they are saying that these present problems are directly related to the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow. Well, in our essays by our scholars, we're providing evidence that that is not true. And in fact, when slavery ended, 75% of all Blacks were illiterate. Well, within less than 50 years, that number reduced to 35. In the literacy rates, Black Americans, we started our own schools. The education gap between whites and Blacks in the South in 1910 was 8th grade for whites, 5th grade for Blacks. Booker T. Washington partnered with Julius Rosenwald, and Julius Rosenwald put up about $4 million. The Black community put up 4.6, and they built 5,000 Rosenwald schools, so that 1/3 of all low-income Blacks attended a Rosenwald school. Well, Mark, between 1920 and 1940, the studies show that that 3-year gap was reduced to 6 months. So if Blacks could reduce the educational gap between 1920 and 1940, and we had 5 major high schools, Dunbar here in Washington and Atlanta, where the class sizes were 50, we used textbooks. The budgets of those schools were a small fraction of what the white schools, but every one of those Black high schools in the 20s tested higher than any other white school in the city.
I want to pursue this with you further.